tracking developments in the trial of 3 Tacoma police officers in the death of Manuel Ellis. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christine Pay. Ellis died while being restrained by police in March of 2020. Officers Matthew Collins, Christopher Burbank, and Timothy Rankin are all facing charges in his death. King 5 is live streaming the entire trial from opening to closing statements. We take you now to the courtroom live.
To go into that. And so what Ms. Nicolavo has done now is specifically comment on the fact that they didn't state anything about what had occurred to this investigator, which I think, you know, this should be a simple witness. It should be about what the photos he took, why Ms. Nicolavo needs to go into those types of questions with this witness when she knows what the prior court's motions are. I think she knows exactly what she's doing when she's doing that. And so I wanted to raise that issue with the court.
Ms. Nicolavo?
Your Honor, I think Mr. Conrad is misconstruing what occurred in the testimony and the purpose of the testimony. The questions were merely regarding if the witness was directed by any of the defendants in taking the photos of what to photograph. Anything in the injuries that they said, oh, this is an injury that I have here. That's what I was seeking, not an interview. That's not what his duties are. He testifies to what his duties are, and that's merely the purpose of the question.
Any further comment from the defense?
No, Your Honor, I would just...
What do you want me to do?
Nothing, but you know, it's a serious issue. And that's why I brought it up twice with the court, and so I was a bit shocked that we even went into the question of, the question was, to my memory, and we can look at the transcript, was, did they tell you what had happened, or did you communicate with them about what had occurred that night? And he said no. It wasn't, did they show you where the injuries were, which are simple questions, which, you know, I wouldn't take issue with, but it went beyond that. So, I'm just hoping it doesn't occur again.
Well, one thing that might be done to rectify this is to point out that somebody in Mr. Wilkes's position is not a detective, and it would not be his job to interview anybody, right? Is that right, sir?
That's correct, sir.
So you never ask anybody any of that stuff. You just communicate with the officers who are directing you as to how they want you to process the scene, right?
Exactly.
Would it be a good idea to make that point?
If I could ask a question.
What's that?
I could certainly ask that question directly.
Any comment from anybody else? Well, I'll let the defense make that inquiry if they care to, but it's just a thought. I'm just a simple country boy, as Mr. Freeby used to say.
Your Honor, for the record, you're again confusing me with another person whose last name begins with FR.
No, Freeby said that, not you, I know. I think as Mr. Freeby used to say. About himself. Wisconsin pig farmer, I think he used to refer to himself. Something like that. Anyway.
The other issue I wanted to raise with the court now, because I think it's going to become an issue with the next witness, is we received this morning 2 additional exhibits, new exhibits from the state, Exhibit 552 and 553. Now, these exhibits show...
This has to do with the next witness.
It does.
I don't know who the next witness is.
I believe it's Mr. Fredericks again.
Oh, okay.
The state is recalling him.
Okay.
And now the state, what they've done is they've recreated a portion of the synced video, and they've now superimposed on the side of it, I can't breathe, and some of the communications that are occurring, not all the communications. The court's already ruled on this, and we've already addressed this issue, so I was a bit shocked to see that they're making it.
Let me ask you, are they essentially adding the transcript, the written transcript to the video?
But not the full transcript, just the portions that they want.
Is that right?
Your Honor, it's a modification of the previous exhibit, which was 442, which contained similar language, and after the court's ruling on the transcript, we have now modified it to be consistent with the court's ruling on the transcript. We haven't offered it yet through the witness. We do intend on offering it with Mr. Fredericks, and we do so because it contains the audio, it contains the video, and it contains the approved language from the court. It's to.
You said this was on Exhibit 442 before?
It was initially on 442.
But 442 was never admitted, right?
Because we had to go through the foundation to get there. It was going to be.
Right, but it wasn't like we admitted it with this kind of stuff on there before,
I'm saying
so
it's
this
not.
is not any big deal. This is, from the jury's point of view, this is all new.
From the jury's point of view, but it shouldn't be from Mr. Conrad's point.
Well, you didn't like it then either.
I bet he did. But so,
I'll give him the credit for consistency.
Your Honor, if the court wants to go through the argument on it and have it played and displayed for the court.
No, they've already heard the audio. They had the transcript. They were allowed to follow with the transcript. This is just reinforcing all that stuff all over again.
No, they haven't seen it with the video. So this combines it with the video, which they did not have with Mr. Hellamore. And this shows who's arriving at what time.
It can be, it could well be that you've got the video is there with the audio. But why do we need the transcript repeated for them on the document, on the exhibit?
It says this with them viewing the video at the same time and listening versus having the transcript down here and reading it. So they can actually watch the video and go through the transcript with it and see the timing and see the arrival. It goes all the way through to the arrival of Defendant Rankin and Officer Ford, and it combines all of it together for an illustrative purposes for the jurors to follow. It's a tool for them to know what's happening when and how.
So is that going to go to the jury?
It's illustrative, Your Honor.
So it's not going to go to the jury.
Correct. It's illustrative. That's the purpose of offering it and the purpose of using it during the testimony. And it's about a disputed. I mean, the material on it is of dispute. It goes through what was said, when was said, timing of what was said, who was present when they were said.
Mr. Conrad. Well, there were two exhibits. They both have the same issue?
They do the same thing.
One has more of the transcript on it than the other. The state prefers to use 552, but we made 553 in case there is an issue with the transcript that is reproduced on it.
Already dealt with this for a lengthy hearing.
We spent half a day on this.
We did, and the court said this is how we're going to do it. You can have the transcript. Let's hand out the transcript, play the video or play the audio, and they can follow along.
We didn't play the video, Your Honor. It was
Well,
done with the audio because of
I understand that. I was here.
I apologize, Your Honor.
Right. Take the transcript out. You can show the audio, you can show the video with the audio, but not a transcript.
And can we leave it as 552, or, well, I guess now we have to do another number because we changed 552.
I don't know which one's which, because I haven't seen this, but.
We'll have to do another number because we have it as
Well,
part of a.
and you have a little bit of time because we're not through with
The other
Mr.
question-
Wilkes.
The other question, Your Honor, is we will need a break between witnesses because Mr. Fredericks has to get set up, plus he needs to test outside the presence of the jury his computer with the audio. The court's audio, I understand there were some changes that happened today with the audio this morning.
We're supposed to have improved things, so hopefully that happened.
And I hope so too, Your Honor. I just want to let the court know we will need a recess outside the presence of the jury.
Okay. Mr. Conrad, are you just standing for your health? Or?
I'm just kind of a bit baffled again because why do we have 5 different versions of the same thing? Now we have this same audio in, I think, 3 times. We have this video in at least 2 or 3 times. Mr. Fredericks created a full synced video that we were provided in discovery. Play it, and let's have the transcript out, and they can look at the transcript as it's being played and follow along. Why do we need a cut-up version of it?
I can tell you in a way how we got here. I mean, part of it had to do with the complaints by the defense about individual aspects of the composite video maybe not being properly authenticated. So at the very beginning of the trial, they wanted to play the one video that was the composite video. And there was this question about especially the McDowell video. And I granted that there was some controversy about that. And so the state said, well, okay, we'll strip that out. And would I allow that to be admitted, and we'll admit the constituent foundation pieces later? And so we did that. And now the state has individually introduced all the composite pieces in case there's some issue about the whole thing. Now, of course, it did wind up, as I say, getting admitted, and now the foundation pieces, I think, have all been established. So I'm not sure there's an issue anymore about the foundation of the composite video, except now this new composite video includes the McDowell stuff that wasn't in the first composite video. And that's how we got here. That may have been a bit of a car wreck to get here, but we got here.
I don't take issue with the full synced video with McDowell now that she's testified. I still think there's issues with it, but I think they've laid the foundation. But that's, so no issue with that. But what they're doing now is they're pulling out select portions that they feel that are, it's not about McDowell's video anymore. It's just that they're pulling out select portions where they think there's particularly helpful things for their case and just playing those portions of those videos instead of playing the full thing. I mean, under the rule of completeness, they should just play the full thing, as well as it's duplicative of other things that they've introduced. And granted, they have a synced video that doesn't have McDowell's video in it, and so that's in there, and that may be because we raised issues with it, but it's also because the state chose not to call her first. But that's all I have to say about it.
Well, there was always those issues. But before we ever got to the trial date, the state did sort of give us all a heads up that, hey, Judge, could we admit this subject to establishing the foundation later? It's not something that happens a lot, but it's not completely rare, and it's provided for in the rules. And I was satisfied that they would be able to lay the foundation, and if they hadn't been, we would have had a real problem, I suppose. We would have had to remove it all and have people disregard it and stuff. But in the end, they've established the foundation. We stripped out the one part because I couldn't say with confidence that they would necessarily be able to establish the foundation for that part of that video because of the surrounding controversy with respect to various aspects about the inability to access the video and the phone that developed during the course of before this trial started. So I had to allow for the possibility that may be something the state couldn't establish. So we went forward the way we did, and I've already described. Now, of course, we've gotten through all that now, and here we are. So because of that, they now want to show a composite video that includes the McDowell video, which is understandable, and which they were going to do in the first place, I think. Now, the business with the transcripts on the side, I agree with you, that should be stripped out. They've already heard that already. They've had a chance to review that. The transcript was subject to a limiting instruction, which we read. It is illustrative only, and so I agree with you about stripping out that, but here we are. And that explains to you why maybe we've seen this multiple times. Now, it certainly is the case that with any piece of evidence, one party or the other may want to say, well, now let's look at this part of it. It could be a single photograph and say, well, let's focus in this right-hand corner here or whatever, and say, well, I want you to look at this. Do we see a shadow here? Do we see whatever it might be, some significance in a particular case? So the idea that we would do this with a video is not surprising to me. And one of the things about this is a little bit unlike the video, or the audio rather. Because of the darkness, because of the resolution of the film, and because the audio that the state was trying to emphasize, if you will, were things that Mr. Ellis was doing, whereas the video has to do with what the defendants are doing as well as what Mr. Ellis is doing. And the audio wasn't controversial with respect to anything that was said as to the officers. And of course, it's their behavior that is at scrutiny in this trial, which is the reason why I limited to some extent the business about the audio, but I don't see necessarily that I think the same reasoning effectively supports doing something differently about the video. So you can strip out the audio language that you're adding, the video can be shown. All right,
We'll have that done, Your Honor, and it will be labeled as Exhibit 554.
great. And Mr. Wilkes, I'm sure, was happy to sit here all this time. Maybe not. But anyway, are we otherwise ready for the jury at this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's have the jury. And we're continuing the examination with Mr. Purtzer when we get back. Welcome back, everybody. Please be seated. Okay, Mr. Purtzer, you may continue your interrogation when ready.
Mr. Wilkins, good afternoon. And I might have been remiss in talking with you earlier. Your role in this case is really just to take the scene photographs or scene videos and photographs, correct?
Yeah, document evidence, collect evidence.
Got it. You're not involved with interrogating individuals or questioning witnesses. You're just simply one of the workers that are involved with just documenting the scene.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Now, at the break, we had admitted, or the judge admitted some exhibits, and I want you to just explain what we have. So we could publish Exhibit 159. Okay, and sir, if you could come down, and there's a pointer there, you can kind of point out various items that are located in that photograph. First of all, just identify, if you will, what is shown in this picture.
Well, this is the Tacoma police officer's vehicle that was there at the scene. You can kind of see this is 96 Ainsworth going off in that direction. And you can see the box of donuts there on this, by the
Okay.
side of the car.
And just so that we're clear, nothing has been touched at this point in time after the scene has been cleared. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, very good. If we could show Mr. Investigator Wilkins 160, please. Sir, what do we have in this picture?
We have the Franz raspberry filled donut box.
Okay, very good. 162, please. And what is shown in this photograph?
This is the front passenger window of the patrol vehicle, showing the streaks down the glass there.
And the streaks were, did you determine what those were?
I didn't do any examination of that.
Okay, very good. And then 164.
It's the same window, just back just a little bit.
Okay, so it's at a different view from what was previously.
Correct.
Very good. 168, please. And what is shown here in 168?
You can see the side of 96, the trash cans, and the water jug there on the side of the road.
Very good. And then just for our edification, where is the patrol car located, if you could see it?
It would be back in this direction,
To the or the right
to
side?
the right of this screen. Yes.
Okay, very good. And then finally, 169, please.
And that's just a closer view of the water jug there on the side of the road.
Okay, so just a close-up view of the prior of 168.
Correct.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. You can retake your seat. Sir, you indicated before the break that there's a protocol for purposes of documenting or establishing police officers involved in this in-custody death, and then there's steps that you take to photograph those individuals. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And do you recall photographing additional individuals at that same point in time that evening?
Yes.
If I might show you a series of photographs. This is Exhibit 2550 through, now let me take the steps here. First off, 2550 through 2558. Take a look at those and let us know what each of those photos represent.
These are photographs I took of Officer Ford.
Okay, and you recognize those as copies of your original photographs?
Correct.
Your Honor, I would offer 2550 through 2558.
No objection from the state room.
Okay, exhibits 2550 through 2558 inclusively are admitted.
Thank you, Judge. Sir, Andy was marked as 2559 through 2567. You can take a look at those as well.
Those are photographs I took of Sergeant Saunders from the Pierce County Sheriff's Department.
Okay. And do those photographs appear to be copies of the originals that you took on that eve, or actually the early morning of March 4th, 2020?
That's correct.
Your Honor, I would offer two. 2559 through 2567.
No objection from the state.
Okay, exhibits 2559 through 2567 inclusively are admitted.
Very good. And sir, with respect to the first four series of photographs that you took, they were Tacoma police officers, correct?
That's correct.
And this is the first officer that you, this most recent officer is a sergeant with Pierce County Sheriff's Department.
That's correct.
Different jurisdiction here in Tacoma.
Yes.
Now, finally, handing you what's marked as exhibits 2568 through 2576. Let us know what's depicted in those photographs.
These are photographs I took of Lieutenant Messinio,
And from what age?
Pierce County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, and those photographs appear to be copies of the originals that you took on the early morning of March 4th, 2020.
That's correct.
Your Honor, I would offer
Sorry.
2568 through 2576.
No objection from the state.
Okay, exhibits 2568 through 2576 inclusively are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to publish the various photographs.
Sure, proceed.
Can we start with 2550, please? Okay, why don't you go ahead and stand down if you
Okay.
can see better with your, you may or may not need a pointer, but just identify who we have at this particular picture.
This is Officer Ford from Tacoma PD.
Okay, and this is the standard protocol front photograph.
Correct.
It has the police identification on the front.
Yes.
Very good. And then 2551. And again, this is Officer Messiah Ford.
Correct.
And with respect to the way that this officer and the other officers have their arms in this particular position, what is the purpose of those poses?
Because depending on their assignment or their personal choice, sometimes they have equipment all around on their vest. And this purpose is to show any and all that equipment that would be, maybe their arms would hide if they were down.
All right, very good. Next photo, 2552, please. And sir, this is the side of the right side photo.
That's correct.
All right, and again, the arms are up to show the equipment on his person.
Yes.
Very good. And then 2553. Same photo, but just the other direction.
Yeah, this is his left side now.
That's all right.
Yeah.
And aside from showing just the posture and the pose, there's nothing particularly significant about this photograph, is there?
No.
Very good. 2554. And again, the arms are up in this particular position. Is there anything in particular that you're looking for, or what a person might be looking for when the officer's standing this?
Just documenting how they were dressed and equipped that night.
Okay, very good. In this particular photograph, it appears that he has some type of a vest on. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that a bulletproof vest that is the wear?
I would not be able to comment on his. Ours, they have the exterior vest.
Okay,
His.
very good. And then 2555, please. And this photograph displays what?
It's standard protocol to basically show what the bottom of their soles look like in case at some point, if at all, that the soles may become important, the sole pattern may become important at the scene during some part of the investigation.
Okay. With the series of photographs that you took of Officers Burbank, Collins, and Rankin, did they also have these photographs taken? You know?
I don't recall, but they should.
Okay. That would be standard protocol.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. And then finally, 2556 in this series.
And the other foot.
Okay, so that's the right foot of
Correct.
Officer Messiah Ford. And, sir, do you know if there was any evidence taken from Officer Ford or Officer Rankin or Burbank or Collins aside from the tasers?
That other than that, that's all my knowledge.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we can now show 2557. And these are pictures of the hands facing down.
Correct. These are Officer Ford's hands.
Very good. And the purpose of taking this photograph as well.
Just if they have any injuries on their hands, front or back, just to document that.
All right, and no injury shown in this picture.
None that I can see.
All right, and then finally 2558.
And now that's the palm side of his hands.
Okay, and that's the final photograph of this series of photos, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, great. One second, Judge. Okay, sir, I want to show you just the first photo of the next two series. We can do 2559, please. And this is a photograph of who?
Sergeant Saunders.
And this is from the Pierce County Sheriff's Department?
Correct.
All right, with respect to Officer Ford, there was 9 different photographs that were taken of him. Is there the comparable photographs taken of this individual?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And then finally, we can show 2568, please. And who is this person?
This is Lieutenant Messinio.
Okay, and again, were there 9 photographs taken of Lieutenant Messinio, comparable to the ones that were taken of Burbank, Collins, Rankin, and Messiah?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, great, thanks. You can retake your seat. If you could republish Exhibit 162, please. And sir, I'll need you to retake point down here. And why don't you grab the pointer if you could? All right. And again, this is where you indicated that there was markings on the window.
You can see some streaking
Okay.
reflecting in the window there.
All right, and then about halfway down, there appears to be another type of a streak.
You can see a line, a horizontal line,
right?
there on the window.
Okay, do you know how that line got there?
I do not know.
Or that is just being documented in this particular photo?
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much. Sure, thank you very much. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, Mr. Hartmans.
Thank you, Your Honor. So it's Investigator Wilkins, is that how you?
That's good. That's good enough.
I know you're retired.
Mr. is fine.
Mr. Wilkins, all right. Congrats on retirement. How long have you been retired?
Year and 4 months.
Okay. And you retired from the Pierce County Sheriff's Department?
Correct.
Right, and that's obviously a separate law enforcement body than the Tacoma Police Department, correct?
Yes,
And as you testify, you don't know these officers?
I do not.
You never met them?
Nope.
Okay. Sean, could you pull up Exhibit 604, please? And that's been admitted. And so, Mr. Wilkins, this is an exhibit that the state showed you that's been admitted, number 604. You took this video, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And if you could play that, please. And just, I believe Ms. Nicolavo asked you about the orientation.
Oh, gotta get live first.
And so, I'm sorry, if you could just pull up and pause it again, thank you. So you're looking from north to south there, is that right?
That's correct.
And the street that the police vehicle is on is on 96th,
Yes,
facing west,
correct.
is that right? Okay. And so, I believe Ms. Nicolavo asked you about that green bush there on the right side of the screen, you see that?
I see that, yes.
Okay, and I think her question was, does that accurately reflect the bloom of that bush on that night? Is that look accurate to you?
I'm really not sure what's causing the colors, but that's the way it was. That's the way it was depicted and captured by the camera.
Okay, all right. So pretty full.
Correct.
Okay. 605, please. And if, yeah, if you could. And Mr. Wilkins, that's another video. Is that from a slightly different angle than the 604?
It's this. I'm in the exact same position. It just this is the pan of the scene.
I see. Okay. All right. And I'm sorry, do you mind rewinding it just back towards the beginning and then pause it after about 2 seconds? Well, go ahead and press play, please. And if I understand your positioning there, you're a few feet in front of the police vehicle,
Correct.
all right? Give or take, I don't know, say 2 to 5 feet. Does that seem about right?
It might be more, but close. I'm standing on the sidewalk.
And let me ask you this, backing up, did you take any perspectives from closer to the passenger side door of the vehicle?
No.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and press play, please. And so the question I have is about the visibility somebody might have who's driving on Ainsworth North. And from what you took and what you recall from being at the scene, if a person was standing next to that passenger side door, would a person person driving north on Ainsworth be able to see them?
Objection, Your Honor. At the foundation.
Well, I don't know if he has any independent recollection of any of this, and so whether he's just offered an opinion based on his view of the video, which is certainly not any more informed than the jurors. But it also seems to me that obviously somebody on Ainsworth at some point in time can see something, and your question was pretty vague about where are we talking about on the scene, on the street. So you're gonna have to back up and restart, I think.
So,
Either that or not go there at all, but that's up to you.
well, I understand what this witness's role was. So, I'll just withdraw the line of questioning. Could you please pull up 607, please? That's a different angle.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay, if you could press play again. Just wanted to be clear, you mentioned on direct that area, there's the two yellow like marks on the sidewalk. Do you see those?
Yes.
And you said that that's more or less a driveway that goes back that way.
Yes.
So it's not a through street,
No.
but there are a number of homes back there.
Yes.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, and I see at least 3, maybe 4 cars parked along in there. Is that what you see?
Yeah.
Okay. And is
Yes.
that what you recall from the night in question?
Yes.
Okay. Great. And I'm sorry. Can we go back to number 605? And I apologize. That was the wrong one. 604, please. This will be my last request on this video.
There you go.
And Mr. Wilkins, just because this has come up, down on the bottom left, you see the box of donuts there in your video?
Yes.
Okay. And so that's accurate from the time that you were there taking video of the scene.
Correct.
And it was those pictures that you were shown by Mr. Kurtzer were actually taken by the subsequent investigator, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Just a couple more questions. You can go ahead and take that down. So, you mentioned in your report that one of the things you do when the officers go back to the station in an incident like this is you take a look at their weapons. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. And you mentioned that both officers in their firearms had I think you said they had 17 rounds. Is that right?
Each of the officers' handguns contain 1 round in the chamber and 17 rounds in each magazine.
All right. And is that a full magazine?
I would have to know the particular model and what its recommendation, but it sounds correct.
Okay. And then the around in the chamber. Is that standard for police officers?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Bremer? Thank you.
Good afternoon. The pictures were taken of these officers, including a detective and a lieutenant, because they were somehow involved significantly in the incident. Would that be fair to say?
As far as how much involvement, I just understand that the purpose of me taking their photos is because they were involved.
And do you know independently what Detective Saunders' involvement was for
No.
Pierce County?
No.
Or Lieutenant Massinio?
No.
I wanted to see if we could pull up 2550 briefly. Thank you. And this is Officer Messiah Ford, is that right?
Yes,
And he was with the Tacoma Police Department.
that's correct.
I just wanted to ask you whether you were aware, or are you aware, that he was Officer Rankin's partner on the date of the incident on March the 3rd of 2020.
I did not know how the partnership was with the particular officers.
And were you aware, or are you aware, that he had significant and equal involvement in restraining Mr. Ellis in this incident? I'm just asking if he's aware, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Are you aware of whether or not their involvement, Officer Rankin's and Messiah Ford's, their involvement was any different? In terms of the
Same ruling.
Do you know anything
Sustained.
about? Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I didn't want to talk over you. Do you know anything about the involvement in the incident with respect to use of force or restraint? About the involvement of Officer Ford or Officer Rankin?
I have, as far as their particular involvement in any of that, I do not know.
And likewise with Saunders and with Massinio.
Correct.
If you could describe the demeanor of the officers in one word, in terms of what you observed, what would it be? All of the officers, I'm sorry, Your Honor. that you took
You may want to
photographs.
go one by one then,
All right,
as opposed to one word to collectively describe.
that's fine, Your Honor. I was just referring in his report, he collectively referred to the officers. But let me just ask you about the demeanor of my client, our client. Officer Rankin, what was his demeanor?
Professional,
Respectful?
respectful, reserved.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Your Honor, I just have one or two questions. If I
Go
could
ahead.
have Exhibit 168, please. If we can zoom in on the green, lime green there, thank you. And Mr. Wilkins, did you take into evidence at all the lime green headphones that are documented in this photo?
No.
The lime green what?
Headphones?
Do we know that those are headphones?
We know they're headphones for the photos, Your Honor. There are multiple photos.
I can't tell from the phone. I mean, ignorance is bliss, I suppose, but I don't know. Did you see this item on the?
I don't.
Your Honor,
Hold on a second. Oh, did you see this item, sir?
I do not have independent recollection of that item.
Do you know what it is?
No, I do not.
Your Honor, it's the same photograph that he testified to with defense, that he didn't recall those items, but they were in the street when.
I'm not saying this isn't there. What I'm saying is I don't know what it is, and I don't know that he knows what it is, and nobody's decided what it is.
Your Honor, if I can.
You may be,
I will find the close-up.
you may be right.
I'll find the close-up to show you, if I can just have a moment. Mr. Wilkins, I'm handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 170. Does that appear to be a close-up of the photo that you were just testifying regarding?
Yes.
Okay. And in viewing that, are you able to see the lime green item that's
Yes.
there? And are you able to make out anything about that item?
It appears to be wired earphones, yes.
Your Honor, the state would offer into evidence Exhibit 170.
Your Honor, I have not even seen this.
Sure.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, 170 is submitted.
Commissioner Pebble?
Sure.
And Mr. Wilkins, is that the same green item that you were discussing on the prior exhibit that depicts the wired headphones?
It appears to be, yes.
Nothing further.
Sir, just a couple of questions. One, these headphones, any idea how long they've been there?
I have no idea.
Okay. Just part of the photographs that you took.
That's not my photograph, so
Okay. The garbage cans, any idea how long they've been there?
no.
So you're just videoing what you see, what's to be seen?
At the time I was there, correct.
With respect to the demeanor of Officer Burbank, how did you perform or present to you that evening?
The same, respectful, professional,
Okay?
yeah,
Officer Collins,
same,
Officer Ford,
the same.
and, is it Lieutenant Messinio?
Lieutenant Messinio, correct,
And how did he bear?
the same,
And Sergeant Sanders?
the same.
Thank you, that's all.
Nothing further, Your Honor, thank you.
Nothing further.
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Wilkins, you are excused. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, as I understand, the state needs a couple of minutes for a setup before the next witness, right?
That's correct.
All right, so we'll take our recess this time, our afternoon recess, ladies and gentlemen, for about 15 to 20 minutes. Please do not discuss case among yourselves with anyone else, and do not permit anyone to discuss case with you or in your presence. Thank you very much.
last week when we took out Miss McDowell's. So I don't really have an issue with that. My issue is that I also understand we received an email that the state intends to introduce 554, which is an extraction or a segment of 443. And so it's contained within 443, so I'd have an objection to admitting an extraction out of the same exhibit just to emphasize that specific component. It's contained within the exhibit that I anticipate they're going to admit as the entirety. My second issue now, Judge?
I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
I am with that one. I have another issue.
Yeah, well, we'll go one issue at a time.
Your Honor, the 554 is the exhibit that the court instructed us to remove the transcript from. We've done that. It's about a 2-minute excerpt, and it also includes and documents when Rankin and Ford arrive on scene with the timing of who was there, with the audio that was being played. We have
That's contained in 443, which they intend to offer too.
Rankin and Ford marked on the exhibit is not contained in 443. This is to assist the jurors on the timing, who was there, and what was being said with the dispatch and Biden.
Well,
And it does
I'm not understanding you responding to what Mr. Oster's point is. He says that Exhibit 443, is it?
That's my understanding.
It's 24 minutes is 443.
And the other exhibit is Exhibit 444?
No, it's 554, Your Honor. It's the exhibit that you just ruled on this afternoon.
All right, so 443 is what again?
24 minutes of all of it synced. All the videos in there are in 443. This
And what's in
is
554 then?
Vivint and for illustrative, including when the Ford and Rankin were arriving. And defense has gone through and
Hold on a second. Do they overlap at all? I mean, his argument is everything in the one exhibit is already contained in the other.
do they overlap on time? Yes, they overlap on time, but we have this one as illustrative, which includes Rankin and Ford being marked like, similar to tracking, but it includes their names on when they're coming in and when they're arriving.
Like when they track the hands.
Right. So it focuses, just like the court said earlier, it focuses on a specific segment of time.
Who got that's from the Vivint video? All this is from the Vivint video?
The audio is not all from Vivint, some of it is dispatched, but it's from Vivint, yes, the video is from Vivint. And it's segments with no video included at certain points.
That's why it's 24 minutes, because there's gaps in it.
Your Honor, you were asked, I was explaining 554. 554 is 2 minutes. The Vivint video is over 24 minutes. Which is 434, excuse me,
443.
correct.
Well, my point is the 24-minute video is 24 minutes because there's a shot, then nothing, then it again,
Yes,
and nothing, and so when you put in all the gaps,
yes,
it extends to 24 minutes.
yes, Your Honor.
And you're saying 554 is 2 minutes extracted from that
Correct, Your Honor.
and includes an evaluation of when various folks arrived.
Correct.
Admitting 554 is already contained in 443. So it's duplicative. You can show in 443 what you're extracting in that 2 minutes. Go back to 443 and say, what are we seeing here, as opposed to admitting another exhibit that's already contained in 443.
I get that. You're trying to say that there's markers on the video, which is 554, showing which person is Ford and which person is Rankin?
Showing who is responding at the time, yes, it notes Ford and Rankin as being the ones pulling up in coordination with the audio that's happening at the time.
Does it in any way show where Collins or Burbank is?
Their patrol vehicle is there.
I understand that, but does it show them?
No,
Is that because they're not in that video?
correct. It's not, they're they're not picked up on the violent video from that.
Right, but presumably if they were right with Rankine and Ford, you could see them.
Rankin and Ford are pulling up and getting out of the car.
Is that all we see of them?
Yes. And it's about the timing, Your Honor, on what was being heard, what was being said during that time period, and who was present for that.
This kind of harkens back a little bit, at least in my mind, to what Mr. Conrad's point of earlier in the day, which had to do with we're slicing and dicing this video and playing it 16 different ways, like as if it's all brand new. And these are not all new videos, it's all just separate analysis of the same thing over and over and over and over.
Your Honor, I would also note that defense has put up segments of the videos to focus on that they find important. They've also put up segments that, knowing that Ms. McDowell's video covers is in a portion of those segments, and misconstrue what was actually available to the witness at the time. So these are all issues of dispute. These aren't a matter of everyone's agreeing on what the evidence is.
Well, .554 is the same as 443, except it's been condensed to 2 minutes, and it identifies where Ford and Rankine are. And that's it?
It's not the same. It's not the same as 443.
No, because it's the 2 minute segment out of this 24 minutes.
Segment. It has the audio from Vivint and Dispatch.
443 doesn't have audio?
443 has multiple sources of audio.
So what does 554 add to this?
554 has two sources of audio, correct? Vivint and Dispatch, is that correct, Mr. Fredericks?
Yes, and the tracking arrows and the names, and that's the difference between the two systems.
Anything else from anybody over here? Why don't you show me 554?
Over, I'm saying Rankine and Ford. That's the difference.
We can publish it for the court.
Sure, just publish it to me, 554. You blow this up? The whole
help? Oh, yes, my son. Back, my son. Around, push, around. Keep off the guard. Go.
Was that the other civilian there that was sort of directing traffic? Mr. Hayes, is it?
I intend to also point that out with Mr. Fredericks.
Great, don't bring some bubbles.
Okay, we
Below
saw.
below that, it actually includes, because it was zoomed in, the court couldn't see it. It had both trackers and it includes the names of the officers below.
Right, so there's a gap in this thing. And when the Ford Rankin vehicle is seen on the video, we don't see it moving. It's just there, right? Did I miss something? No. And then officers get out of that and move rapidly to this area where Mr. Ellis evidently is.
Correct.
And we've
And
got a
the
little,
trackers under
and there's a little tracker on for at least one of them? Is there one for each of them?
two.
Well, so there's one above and there's one, these are the icicles.
Yes.
And the car, these are kind of yellowish, puce maybe as you call it. Anyway, okay. So go ahead and play for it.
If you looked at 443, you can see the exact same thing without the little icicles.
How much farther does this go? So play the rest of it. Well, is that it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Then we got another 16 minutes and 14 seconds before the next clip? Because what we see,
We have audio that's gonna continue, and then this is, I believe, 2 minutes and 6 seconds. And that's,
yeah, but there's no video for this.
right, this is, and now it stopped. That's it.
The entire time, and then when we first see the two officers leave the vehicle, and we see the little trackers, little icicles, then they run towards that scene, and then there's the post to the house, and we don't see the icicles anymore, right? The icicles are on track on this thing for maybe 2 seconds, right? Am I missing something?
No, that's correct. If you go back to 443, you see the exact same thing with the exact same audio without that little icicles.
Right, and the icicles are not present after that because evidently the officers are behind the post, so you can't see them anyway.
Or in front of the patrol car.
Well, could be. I mean, for whatever reason, you can't see them.
Right.
And so there's no trackers, there's no video, there's nothing. It's just, and all the stuff leading up to that, the first couple of clips, the Rankin Ford vehicle isn't even pictured, and we don't see it actually approach. We see it when it turns on.
We
It's
never
just
see it approach on any of the Biden.
right. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just trying to describe so our audience knows what I'm talking about. When we actually see this video, we don't actually see the vehicle approach. We just see it there because of the way the Valiant thing shuts down and then starts up again. It's nobody's fault. It's just the way it was.
This is a portion of the video.
This is 2 seconds. This is 2 seconds where we see
2 minutes and 6 seconds, a portion of the video and the audio that the state wants to focus on, and not go through 24 minutes of another exhibit which hasn't been admitted.
Are you going to admit that one?
We'll see how the testimony plays out.
You're not going to move to admit 443?
It's 24 minutes, and much of it, I don't know.
It's dead time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, don't tell me I don't know. You have some ideas to whether you are going to offer
I have to
this.
see where things go, Your Honor. I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
One can change one's mind. That I grant. What's your position on it now? Do you intend to admit it or not?
Well, Your Honor, I think that, I'm not sure. I mean, this is obviously Ms. Nicolavo's witness in terms of the length of the 443 one. I think the point that the state is trying to make is that the timing is important, as the court understands. The timing of when these things happen on the video and what we hear on the video in terms of what Mr. Ellis is saying is important. And getting the jury to be able to understand that in the context of the video as well as the audio is what the state is attempting to do. Playing just one long sync, it's very hard to watch the whole sync if you watch all of it in terms of there's just a lot of different stuff going on. So this is an attempt to kind of try to isolate portions of it so that the jury understands when certain things happen that are relevant and important in this case. For example, when are hobbles requested in relation to when Mr. Ellis has already said that he can't breathe? When are people there when Mr. Ellis is saying that he can't breathe? Is it just defendants Collins and Burbank? It also highlights, as you can see when we do this clip, the portions of Vivint where there isn't anything. That's because when you hear certain witnesses, like Ms. Malang testifying today, and the defense is saying, well, that's not on this audio. Well, you can see that there are certain gaps in it that very well, it doesn't mean she's not believable, right? But rather that it may have occurred when there is a gap in the video.
Yeah, but wouldn't the entire video illustrate that better than taking a selective deal?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that you can't really it's all a bunch of components, and it was done in part to show the sync and how they match up.
Yeah, but by hearing the whole thing, beginning to end, with all the dead space, that suggests to you, or at least suggests an opportunity that the witness could be saying or observing something that's not contained on there, and therefore the defense claim that if it's not on the audio, it didn't happen. I'm not sure they're saying that actually, but if the extent that's what you're worried about, you said, well, we know things weren't captured because here's the gaps. You've seen the gaps.
Understood, but the court started asking initially whether or not we were going to put on 443.
Right.
Part of the challenge here is that it's all, if you look at 443, you're watching all of it kind of at the same time, and the ability to focus on discrete portions of it is extremely difficult.
But that was the whole point of Mr. Frederick. He was supposed to make this composite video so that you could take these things all together and see it as a cohesive event.
Correct, but I'm suggesting that just saying play 443 and not play any of the individual segments doesn't accomplish that, and that's what the defense wants to do, because of course they want to dilute this evidence, understandably, but it's important to be able to highlight portions of it, and it's.
But why can't you do that from the base film?
Well, I guess we can do that with each one of the individual violence, if that's.
Well, let me ask this.
This is going to take longer than trying to create portions of it, but certainly we can play that, and then we can play pieces of the dispatch, and we can set the timing that way. It's going to take a lot of additional time, which is what this side.
That's all I got is time. But here's the thing. You're talking about segments, additional segments, additional clips. I've only heard about 554. Have you got plans for a bunch of other smaller sub clips from all this that I haven't heard about yet?
That's the only one we were going to do, but if the court's going to say, hey, sorry.
No, we haven't even touched Ms. McDowell's video with this witness, Your Honor. So there's portions of Ms. McDowell's video to go through with this witness.
Has it been combined into 443?
Yes.
No, it hasn't.
What's 443?
We had portions of it changed into PDF to go through as we did with Mr. Cowden's video.
Well, what's 443 then?
443 has McDowell's video in it.
It's not done as a PDF.
You're talking about two separate things, Ms. Nicolavo. He's asking whether 443 has McDowell's video in it.
It does have McDowell's video.
Okay.
It doesn't have the clips that we are going to be using as PDFs. The court just asked if we have other clips that we intend to use.
Yeah.
Yes, we have other clips that we intend to use. Just like we have a stabilized, magnified section of Ms. McDowell's video that we intend to use, that we changed into, converted, or not we, Mr. Fredericks did, into a PDF that we will go through with him, just like we did with Mr. Cowden's video. I would ask on the 443, Your Honor, if the court is not inclined to allow the state to use this exhibit, would you the state could go to 443 and move to the marker we want to move to, 24 minutes of it, and get to the point we want to draw attention to, play that part, and go back and forth. And as the court has seen, that creates issues in front of the jurors with showing the exhibits. We want to have it nice, clean, succinct, and done. In addition to that, I would note that there's different audio sources on 443 than there are on 552. We've removed some of those audio sources.
On 554?
Thank you for the correction.
Yeah.
554. We've removed some of those audio sources in order to assist in hearing what is happening. As you heard with Mr. Hallamore, when there's competing audios, the loudest one wins, right? So we removed some of those audios on this clip.
Can I say one point?
I'm just wondering to what extent this is Frankenstein's monster of what happened.
It is. And the problem is that 443 was given to us originally in discovery. That's what we interviewed Mr. Frederickson on, right? Mr. Fredericks. That's what we interviewed. That's what we had. Now we're getting all these spliced and diced, removed. I just saw 554 for the first time just now. And 554 is contained within 443. The exact same thing. The only apparently it's removing certain audio files as well, which I wasn't even aware of. So the fact we're not trying to dilute, we're trying to tell the full story, not just portions and pieces of it that remove what's being said, remove what's being visualized. The only difference between this, originally what was represented to you, was that it had those icicle markers. That's it. But now what's being said for the first time is that this has different audio on it. Well, we've never seen it before. We haven't had it analyzed. I had 443 analyzed by a forensic video expert. I haven't had this analyzed. I've never seen it before. That's a big problem. It's not fair. It's just them slicing and dicing it up, which they could. I don't have any issue with 443. I'd stipulate to it its admissibility. The problem is that you can just key up 443 where this marker is at 2325 and play it, and it'd be the same thing, except apparently they're now removing audio, which I have an issue with.
Removing audio is problematic.
Your Honor, it doesn't change the authenticity of the audio. There are multiple sources of audio.
If you can't hear the audio, I would submit to you that changes the authenticity of the audio because you've removed part of it.
Each clip of audio has been authenticated. And so each clip of audio that is in everything that we've used has been authenticated. It's a matter of how many sources we put in. None of it's been enhanced.
All right, now how about this? I knock on your door, you open it, I say you're a bum, and then I punch you in the nose. Here's our clip now. I come to the door, I knock on it, you can't hear me say anything, and I punch you in the nose. You think there's a difference?
No, I still got punched in the nose.
All right, well then how about this then? I come to do and say you're a bum, you punch me in the nose. Now we take the same clip, take the video audio out from me saying you're a bum, we just show you punch me in the nose. Is there a difference?
And Your Honor, the court allowed, defense did the same thing with witnesses in misconstruing.
Wait a minute. If you're gonna complain somehow
I'm not,
that I've made some misruling somewhere that maybe you just did not that you maybe did not object to, then that's not my problem.
Your Honor, I'm not saying the court made a misruling.
Right.
What I'm saying is we're doing similar steps of focusing on specific evidence with witnesses and for the jury. That's it.
Your Honor, just if I may respond to what the court just said. It is not about removing the audio of you saying you're going to punch me in the nose. This is talking about different sources of audio. So it's not taking a video and removing it. In 443, what you have is dispatch audio and you have Vivint audio, and they get masked. This is untethering that from in order to isolate a part where you're not hearing it being masked.
Wasn't the whole idea of Mr. Hallamore? And Mr. Hallamore worked with Mr. Frederick, and the whole idea was they were to work together to create a composite audio and video record that would be a single record of this whole event. Wasn't that the point? That was my understanding of the point. And we played the entire audio record. Did we not yesterday? I'm not talking to the wind now. You guys tell me.
No, Your Honor, the entire audio has not been played.
Well, then what was the whole thing that?
The entire audio. We have not sat here with the jury for 24 minutes playing audio.
Well, he did tell us that at some point in time, he ended the thing, and it was another 16 minutes before medical arrived. That's true. I think that's right. And so the audio for that is not there. But there wasn't any difficulty with respect to understanding that particularly, or no one regarded it as significant enough to try to give us a transcript for it or to play it for the jury. So the problem is, at some point in time, if you cut this in certain sorts of ways, and you can leave a misleading impression of what's going on, like my hypothetical about who gets punched in the nose at the front door and why it happened.
That's what the court is, or that's what the state is trying to attempt to not do. We want want to make sure it's not misleading. We want to make sure that they have an opportunity to hear the different sources of audio.
Then why not play it from beginning to end?
Because we haven't pulled out each clip from the 24-minute one, Your Honor. I mean, these aren't quick and easy clips to put together. So
Well, that was the whole point with Mr. Hallamore, I thought.
And Mr. Hallamore was not played to the jury with any portion of the video. It was audio only.
Well, yes, but it was based upon the composite video, and it was from composite sources. Hallamore's document, his exhibit, was it 18A or whatever it was?
18A.
That shows you that the source, some of it's from Vivint, some of it's from Dispatch, some of it's from.
And it doesn't show what officer is there at what time. It doesn't show what.
Because it's an audio. Well, it shows some of it because on his audio it shows that a certain officer whose number was associated, whose number on the clip was associated with it was talking. So, for instance, when I think there's a point where Officer Burbank says something, and you can see it says it's off, it's 351 or whatever his number was, 357, whatever it was.
But that's not necessarily that they're on scene. I mean, Sergeant Lim says something, but it's not on video, and it's not necessarily, there hasn't been testimony that he was on scene at the time yet.
Well, then bring it. But I'm not going to let you do it this way.
Well, this is with Rankin and Ford, Your Honor. I mean, I'm using that as an example from your prior question.
Listen, I don't particularly see, as I'm looking at the video here, it still says, no provided Vivint video, 16 minutes, 14 seconds. I'm not sure this is a 2-minute video or another 20-minute video. Does it end here? I mean, we stopped it here, but does it end here?
It's 2 minutes and 6 seconds.
Okay.
2 minutes and 8 seconds? 6. 2 minutes and 6 seconds.
But why can't this be taken from 443?
443 has other sources of audio on it, Your Honor. That's the point. Is we would have to go back to.
You're saying the audio that is on 554 is not on 443, only the video is.
It's additional audio is on there, and it's not hearable with the additional audio that's on the full exhibit.
But that's the point.
Well, it's not hearable? Is that what you're saying?
You can't hear it as distinctly because it has additional audio on it.
Well,
This isolates.
well, why is there audio on 554 that is not present on 443?
No, this audio is on 443. What is?
Well, then you're telling me that 554 contains both the video and audio from 443.
No, I'm sorry if I'm misspeaking. There's 2 sources of audio on 554.
Yeah,
And there's multiple sources of audio on 443.
right.
And the multiple sources of audio make it so you cannot isolate or hear one, as I said earlier, one of those audio will cancel out another. You can't hear it as well. And this is, the state, this isn't cumulative. The state has an opportunity to present its case and to present the evidence in the form that is most audible to a jury. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, tied to the video and tied to the time. Court has another question. I'll gladly answer any other questions.
Well, what was the audio on 554 that's so critical?
Your Honor, I think the court saw the audio when we showed you the transcript, and you said to strip out the transcript. So this is that exhibit with the transcript.
Right. But what on this audio? What on this?
What's on this audio?
What's on this video 554 with an audio portion to it that is so important and that is not on 443, or that you can't hear on 443?
As Ms. Seeks explained to the court earlier, and I was getting to earlier also, is there's portions of it which are I can't hear, or I can't breathe, sir. There's hobble request on it. There's incoming to slow.
You're saying you can't hear the hobble request on that otherwise?
You can't hear some of the other. We included the information on here, but you can't hear it as clearly on the other exhibit because it's masked by additional audio sources.
You guys have a comment?
From the beginning said that the issue is what can the officers hear at the time. So they're trying to take out things to make it appear as though the officer hearing this isolated sound, as opposed to, this is what was going on. This was what everybody heard.
Your Honor, it's still the jurors to decide what was heard and what wasn't.
That's their point.
Yeah.
That's their point.
Telling us that we're trying to dilute it. You're not putting the full complete synchronization together. The judge is spot on in terms of Hallamore and Fredericks worked together to create this synced video, and they also synced up the different audios as well so that they wouldn't overlap, or if they did overlap, that was an accurate and complete depiction of what you hear or what you see. And that's what we based our defense case off of. That's what I had a forensic video expert look at, and now I'm getting new versions of it that I've never seen before until just now, and they could play that segment of 443.
Has 554 been provided to the defense before today?
Your Honor, you created how 554 had to look today, so we couldn't provide
Well, did you provide him 554 with the transcript before today?
No, this
No,
morning.
we provided 442, I believe it was 442, which had the transcript
Right.
to defense well in advance, and then the court changed not changed, the court made your ruling on what the transcript was allowed with Hallamore. So we modified it to be consistent with the court's ruling.
I'm talking about this video that's 554, and is that new? And whatever the audio is on that, is that new to the defense?
It would have been on 442.
It is on 442, Your Honor, and
Yeah.
you disclosed that from the beginning.
Before
The
trial.
only thing that's changed.
But it's not. But on 442, that you didn't have this sound stripped out.
We did. 442 had exactly. This is exactly the same, but it changed the transcript, which is what we submitted to the court. You told us today to take that out.
All right,
So this is 442
I'm
without
ready.
the transcript.
I'm ready to roll. You know, if 443 is inadequate because the sound makes it hard to hear something, it is, as far as I can tell, the recording of the event. And 554 is a modification of the recording of the event to eliminate certain sounds so other sounds are more able to be heard. That modifies the experience from what actually happened. And it's cumulative.
Dispatch would not have been, officers would not have been hearing dispatch.
They could hear dispatch.
Dispatch calling a fire and talking to Lynn.
Over his radio?
I don't know. Maybe not, but that's part of the event period in terms of when fire comes and all that kind of stuff. It explains why they show up. I mean, I assumed you wanted that in there. You're the one that asked for this.
There's multiple things the state wants in, Your Honor. This isn't a modification of what was provided to defense. All of these clips, all of this information has previously been provided to them. Do we change the exhibit numbers? Yes. Based on the court's ruling. We've modified them based on the court's rulings.
443 evidently contains the whole thing. You can play that. You can go back and play various parts of it. But I'm not going to allow you to edit out noise or video or anything else to create a different video that was different from the event.
It's not different from the event, Your Honor, but
Well,
with that,
If you're saying there's things that you could have heard and could not heard because of now, and you can hear them now, like as you've told me so far, Mr. Ellis saying certain things, which has got nothing to do with dispatch. I mean, you're changing the argument when you start saying, well, the officers couldn't have heard dispatch, or that doesn't much matter. You're trying to get in this business about what Mr. Ellis said. And we've already gone through all that.
we're trying to get in what Mr. Ellis said, what Mr. Defendant Collins said, what other officers on the scene said,
That's within what Mr. Hallamore has already told us.
not linked up with the video. But if I
It is when we play 443, I assume. So,
Your Honor, if I could just explain to the court one moment.
yeah,
So the dispatch audio that was not heard at the scene
right.
was added to the Vyman 24-minute video.
And so why does that, so why do we have to play it at 554 then?
That dispatch overrode from Vyman what the audio that would be on Vyman. That is not included in 554.
And what is that audio that you're interested in? Because it's not the dispatch audio that you're worried about not being able to hear. It's something that's on the scene on 554 that you can't hear because of the dispatch audio. That's what you're telling me.
Yes.
What is that we have not heard from Mr. Hallamore already? That's my question.
Your Honor,
Is the answer nothing?
I would need to check with Mr. Liu on that.
I would think you'd know the answer to this.
Your Honor, Mr. Liu handled with Mr. Hallamore exactly what sources he used.
Yeah, but you know the video you were talking about. You know it's been played in court.
We did not play the video with him.
I don't know. I find this,
I'm not trying to go in circles with you, Your Honor. I'm not. I just want to make sure I'm accurate in what I represent to the court. And we did not play the video with him.
I appreciate that. Mr. Oster, you have a comment?
We're good, Your Honor. We understand the
Hold-
court's ruling.
Issue two.
I haven't actually made it yet. So please explain it to me.
The other issue.
What I heard.
Go ahead.
I finished. Issue two, the AG's office is manipulating the sound through the sound system as they're playing this. They're turning down treble, turning up noise so that you can hear certain things more clearly that they want heard as opposed to just playing the audio. And so my position is play the audio. Let the jury decide what the audio contains as opposed to them manipulating treble, bass, whatever, so that certain sounds are heard better in the courtroom.
Well, I'm less, that may sound more sinister, but I'm less suspicious of that, I have to say. Because it seems to me that there's lots of times where, as a recording may not faithfully play back what the original sound was, and by using an equalizer or something else that would essentially change treble and bass, that may allow you to pick up things that were in fact present and were heard. I suppose you can make the argument to the jury about weight versus admissibility there, but I've still got a problem with 554.
Your Honor, I just want to let the court know that the audio that was used with Mr. Hallamore, he did not enhance any of the audio. And the audio that was used with Mr. Hallamore was directly pulled from the full 443. So it had more audio sources than 554 does.
Well, I'm sure there were some things, like, for instance, I think it was Mr. Osler that talked about a courtesy honk, right? I don't think the courtesy honk, for instance, two courtesy honks, maybe one is a courtesy and one being mine, but two honks of a car horn, that does not appear on his video, on his audio transcript. But, you know.
I just want the court to know that that's the audio that was played for the jury. This audio does not include all of the audio that's on 443.
Right. Well, 554 is cumulative and potentially misleading, so 554 is out. 443, we haven't laid all the foundation for it, but if it's what I expect it to be, that would probably be admissible. All right, we ready for the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. So, Mr. Frederick, we're gonna ask you to state your name again in front of the jury, but you've already been sworn in and so on, just for our record, so we know who you are, and you'll remain under oath, and I'll say that in front of the jury, so they know. All right, let's have the jury. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Please be seated. Ms. Nicolavo, your next witness. Your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. State recalls Mr. Grant Fredericks.
Okay, Ms. Frederick, please come on forward. Please state your name. You don't have to spell it. We've got that.
Grant Fredericks.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Frederick, you previously were sworn under oath. You remain under oath. You understand that?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Ms. Nicolavo, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Fredericks, you previously went through State's Exhibit 544 that was admitted, which did not have Ms. McDowell's camera perspective. Did you also prepare an exhibit which includes her camera perspective?
I did.
And is that State's Exhibit 545? Take a moment to view that.
Yes.
And is this, you testified the last time you were here about the authenticity and the steps that you took for Mr. Cowden and the Vivint video. You also testified extensively regarding Ms. McDowell's videos, but did not publish them or play them. Did you take those steps in preparing 545?
I did.
Your Honor, State offers in evidence 545.
No objection, Your Honor.
Sure. Sure.
Good afternoon.
I'm looking at 545.
545.
Is it the only addition, the perspective from Ms. McDowell, meaning the color indicating her scope of view from wherever the video was taken?
I believe that's the only difference between what we previously showed without her perspective.
When you were back last week?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have any objection then, Judge.
As I understand it, this includes all of them.
Correct, Your Honor. The only addition is Ms. McDowell's.
Ms. McDowell had been omitted from the first one, so now her camera perspective is.
Yeah, it's just several pages. I just want to make sure that was the condition we're talking about, is that perspective.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any objection.
No objection.
Your Honor.
Okay, 545 is included.
Commissioner Publish, Your Honor. You can take us through 545. I know you previously went through the other perspectives. If you can just refresh the memory of the jurors and then show us the McDowell as you go through it, please.
Yes, there are a few additional slides which are indicated by the numbers at the top right-hand corner of each image, the yellow numbers. And this just is the, again, the Google Earth overview of the street. As I advance through to slide 3, it just shows the Vivint video. This is the approximate perspective of that static camera view in yellow. On slide 4, slide 5 and 6 introduce the approximate perspective of the Cowden video, and that shows with the blue overlay. And then slides 7 and 8 now introduce the McDowell video and the approximate perspective, although the camera does move, both McDowell and Cowden moves, that's the approximate perspective of the McDowell video shown in 8. And then slide 9 is the overlay that shows where all 3 videos intersect at most of the time. And as I move on to slide 11, again, these are the approximate distances from the camera to the manhole at a Vivint video of approximately 112 feet. From the McDowell video, Cowden video 68 feet, and from the McDowell video I think we had 66 feet to that manhole.
Thank you. And when you do this as the perspective, it's from the camera perspective of each source. It's not where the witness was looking or what the witness was necessarily viewing at the time.
That's correct. It's the primary perspective that the cameras each showed during during most of the video, and not what the individual witnesses may or may not have seen.
So the user could see something completely different if they're looking at a different direction than their camera.
Certainly.
And why did you use Google Earth for this instead of the Mesh Pharaoh?
This was just an approximation, and I had the little approximation icon here. It just gives me and anybody looking at this an approximate position to certain objects from different locations. So this wasn't for the purpose of doing things like speed estimation that would require very precise analysis. So I didn't form any opinions on the measurements here.
And you previously testified about viewing Ms. McDowell's video, which has subsequently been admitted as States Exhibit 20 and 21. Did you go through and do any magnification or stabilization of any of her videos?
Yes.
And is that included in Exhibit 440?
Yes.
Could you take a moment to view that? Correct.
Yes. 440 is a video copy of Mrs. McDowell's first recording, and it includes a magnification and stabilization of the first section of that video.
And how long is the 440?
About 6 seconds.
And did you use the magnification, stabilization when you did the sync timeline of Ms. McDowell's video? Excuse me.
Not in the sync timeline.
Okay.
No.
And the first 6 seconds of Ms. McDowell's video that you have stabilized and magnified, why was that done? What was the purpose of it?
It assisted me in understanding the nuanced activities depicted, taking away the movement of the camera that tends to distract, and allowed me to examine those movements in more detail.
Your Honor, the state offers in evidence 440.
Mr. Fricky, is that you?
No objection, Your Honor. I make the same objection I made earlier. This is a portion of 20 that's already been admitted.
Your Honor, it's actually, I believe the witness just testified that the other video does not maintain the stabilization and magnification.
That's what he did say. To that extent, my understanding is it's the same video magnified and stabilized. It's the same video magnified and stabilized.
It's a section of it, yes, but it's not included in the exhibit that Vince is referencing.
It's
The
not in,
video of it is, the stabilization and magnified is not.
right.
There's 6 seconds of a 1-minute video.
I'm going to permit this. I see this is different than audio. I haven't heard from Mr. Conrad yet. Maybe he'll persuade me otherwise.
No, Judge. I mean, I share the same concerns as to why the whole thing's not stabilized, but I think the court's already made its ruling. So,
All right, 440 is admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Proceed.
And what time does this exhibit start?
This video starts at 23:21:49 and 367 milliseconds.
23 what? I apologize.
23:21:49.
Thank you.
And Mr. Fredericks, could you please first play the video, 6-second clip, and then take us through what is depicted in it?
One moment, please.
Are you able to, when you first view it in that way, are you able to identify who's who the first time you go through it?
Well, I didn't know who any of the individuals are depicted. Once they were identified to me, I still had a problem tracking it because there's a lot of movement back and forth. So in order to assist me, I put tracking arrows done like I did in the previous video, and was able to track the officers as they move between each other.
And did you also change that into a PDF to track?
I did.
And did you do the same steps as you had previously testified about with Mr. Cowden's video, with Ms. McDowell's video?
Yes, I did.
And is that depicted in State's Exhibit 441?
It is.
And the purpose of that, as you testified, is, and as we saw in the short clip here, it's difficult to track who's who.
Correct.
You can look at 441, Your Honor. State offers in evidence Exhibit 441.
I haven't seen it yet, Your Honor.
Play for counsel.
And 441 starts at what time?
The same time, 23:21:49.
And again, is it only a section, but it's longer than the 6 seconds, correct?
No, it's the same length.
So it's a PDF version of what we just witnessed.
Correct.
Go ahead and play it. Play it for counsel so they can see it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm going to object to the time as for the same reasons previously mentioned by previous counsel.
Anything else?
It's 40, then slowed down into individual frames. So now we've admitted 3 of the same exact thing, 6-second frames. So it's cumulative, and
It isn't being played at the same speed throughout, that's for sure. Does it play in a normal time, or are we manipulating the speed of the film?
There's no manipulation of the speed, Your Honor. This is these are each frame. So it's done as the same as what we did with Mr. Cowden's. And we're going to go frame by frame of tracking Mr. Ellis, tracking Defendant Burbank, tracking Defendant Collins. We have not done any of this on Ms. McDowell's.
But this is not at normal speed. This is not at live speed.
It's at the speed base per frame. No, I mean, you can see, it's however fast it goes, however fast he pushes, it's however fast he, you cycle through it.
Ms. Frederick, what extent was this slowed down?
This was not slowed down. These are individual images.
Right.
As they were recorded by the camera. The camera plays them back at 33 millisecond separations.
Yeah.
This is in order to go image by image as slowly as the court requires and go backward to look at.
But it's not being played back the same way as it would be if we just took a video and played it.
Right. There's no audio here. This is still images only.
So that's what I'm asking. To what extent, how much slower is this?
Right now we're looking, well, I'm looking at this image that's been sitting there, and we can
Well, it's a still frame at the moment, but when we play it from beginning to end, the 6 seconds, I suppose.
They're all still images. So we're going to hold an image until I'm asked to go to the next image. So it'll be there as long as the questions are asked.
So I really should look at this as a book with a bunch of still pictures.
Exactly, yes. Just like we did with Cowden.
It's got 174, that's what it's asking. 174 still images of the 6 seconds.
Okay. All right, that's your objection? Okay. This is now 441. 441 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to publish, Your Honor.
Proceed.
And Mr. Fredericks, can you please explain to the jury what your markers are as far as the officers' directions they're facing and how you are able to distinguish between who's who?
Based on reading the provided reports I was given to identify which of the officers was using a taser and which one wasn't, I was able to identify using the yellow arrow, Officer Burbank, and using the white arrow, Officer Collins. And this assisted me in tracking their movements.
And based on the evidence that you received and photographs that you observed, was there anything that was distinguishing on Defendant Collins that assisted you in tracking him in this process?
Well, the video is really just reflection of light reflecting off of objects that become brighter. And so to ensure that I was tracking the same person, I was focused a lot of it on tracking a shoulder flash on a uniform that became visible. And then in part, at sometimes Officer Burbank, when he moves back in, he's holding the taser, I can see that. So that helped in doing some of the tracking.
And in starting with slide or frame 1, are you able to make any determination on where the officers are located in relation to the patrol vehicle?
We see Officer Collins' feet on the ground. We see the stop line in the foreground. That stop line is just in front of the front tires of the police vehicle. So as we go forward in this image, we can see some debris on the ground moving, and just beyond that debris on the stop line, we can see Officer Collins moving away from the camera. So at this point, he is very close to the front of the police vehicle on the passenger side.
And are you able to make any determination on where Defendant Burbank is?
We can see Mr. Burbank's right leg at the side, and it's slightly covered by some reflection of light that covers over his leg, but as he moves, it becomes a bit more apparent. And then we can see his left leg as Mr. Collins moves forward. Mr. Burbank's left leg becomes more visible as there's some contact with Mr. Ellis.
You said there's some debris on the ground. Were you able to make any determination on what that debris included?
The debris on the ground I'm pointing to right at the center bottom of the image, basically over top of the white line, looks like a plastic bag that is moving from left to right, and it appears to be blowing in the wind.
Like a plastic grocery bag?
It's a plastic bag of some kind, yes.
And can you take us through the first 16 slides and let us know, identify where Mr. Ellis's feet are and what you can determine based on. Actually, before we do that, when you did this, did you have anything in this frame that would assist you in the continuity of an XY coordinate?
Yes, and just to explain how this was produced using the XY coordinates, I used both the bottom right and bottom left of the street sign because it's in the image during the entirety of the 6 seconds before the camera moves out of frame. And so in order to do a stabilization accurately and effectively, I want to find something that is in the image that can be seen in every frame, and that helps me lock down the frame. So if I were to hold my cursor over that point and then just advance through the images, we can see how it's locked down. And that's how the the stabilization works, to eliminate the movement of the camera and the distraction of all the other things that are happening outside the area of interest.
And is that part of the reason why you determined the 6 seconds and that you were able to keep the reference point of the street sign?
Yes, until Ms. McDowell pans to the right, everything then shifts to the left and out of frame, and so I lose that continuity. Of course, there's nothing to see at that event anyway.
Can you take us through the beginning on identify what you're able to determine regarding Mr. Ellis's feet, the location?
Yeah, so moving from 1 forward, you can see Mr. Ellis's foot appear, left foot appear at about slide 8 between the officers, between Mr. Collins' right leg and Mr. Burbank's left leg, and between 8 and 12, Mr. Ellis's leg moves up in the air. His feet are off the ground, at least above knee level of Mr. Collins.
And that's both feet are off the ground?
Yes.
And are you able to make
For just briefly, so his other back foot, at 11 is visible, and then as I move forward, his foot appears and then makes contact with the ground at about slide 16.
If you could go back further, are you able to make any determinations regarding Officer or Defendant Burbank's left arm in relation to Mr. Ellis's foot?
At slide 13, Ms. Burbank's left arm is between Mr. Ellis's legs, and his left arm is down underneath the thigh of his leg at slide 13.
John, can I voir dire the witness? Because he just said that was Officer Collins that was holding him, and now it's Officer Burbank. Do we know which officer that is?
I'm pretty sure I said Burbank. I certainly meant Burbank.
Well, earlier the witness said that Officer Collins' legs were between his legs, and Officer Collins is not near Mr. Ellis, so I'm not sure which he's talking about.
I don't know whether he misspoke or not. He can sort that out, I suppose, on cross-examination. But for now, it is 4:01, so we're going to take our break till Monday. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on Monday, and during this time, of course, avoid discussing the matter with anybody or let anyone discuss it with you, and avoid any media comments about this case one way or the other. Have a great weekend. See you back on Monday, same time.